Tremendous boost, giving the voice assistant new features such as a more conversation. Oh, wonderful.
Well, you know, one thing I did read that maybe we're all going to be able to take advantage of with Siri is that they've added a text feature so you can text messages to Siri instead of, so you don't have to use your voice anymore. You don't have to say things out loud.
Well, the weird thing is, yesterday I was saying, Siri, what's the driving distance from?
Which is Robinhood has made itself a gambling app now. Article by The Verge.
Should that kind of make you wonder about their investing part of this app?
Well, do you guys remember Robinhood being at the center of the controversy when they shut down Stop? So I don't know if you guys, anybody out there remembers, but we went through a period of time where GameStop was supposed to fail. It's actually the period of time that they termed meme stocks. And Elon Musk actually played a part in it because he was tweeting about GameStop on Twitter, encouraging people to buy. And if you don't know who GameStop is, it's a mall store front end that would sell used video games. It's a used video game trader. And if you're like somebody like me, you might go in and buy an old video game console and buy old pre-used games. Everything's working great. Yep. And so, but it was failing. It was flailing. PlayStation and Microsoft had their own online offerings where you could download games and play them. And so selling used discs, you can't do that in a digital world where you're digital downloads. So the necessity of GameStop to younger gamers became less and less apparent. And so their value was tanking. And what happened was there's a number of hedge funds out there that were betting on it falling apart and going bankrupt. And so they were shorting GameStop. And there's a great documentary or a great dramatization of this that's on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But what it really shows is how this one guy who is on Reddit, who he's in Wall Street Bets. Is that what it's called? Wall Street Bets? I think it's Wall Street Bets. And this is a group for young platform like Robinhood to do investments, and they're sharing investment ideas with each other. It's no different than when you're sitting around with a bunch of your buddies and hey, you know what's going to pop pretty soon? We're going to Tesla. Everybody should buy into Tesla. It was no different than that. So he's in a discussion.
I lost your volume.
I bet you can't hear me. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can
you hear me now? So yeah, so what these guys were doing is they were just kind of convincing themselves what to invest in. And they were using Robinhood. A lot of them were using Robinhood because they're just young guys. They're in their 20s, just out of college, a lot of debt. And they were using Robinhood to buy just micro fractions of stocks. I've done it myself. You can buy like 1/10 of a stock because that's all you've got. You've got $50 to put into it. And so one of the themes that went around was GameStop. This guy made it's funny, I can't remember his real name, but I remember his online handle was something Kitty. And he was like Raging Kitty, something like that. Somebody should Google it while I'm talking because I can't remember it. But he was giving his argument for why he liked GameStop as a stock. And he convinced so many people to buy into this idea, they started buying GameStop in droves. And it drove the price up simply because there was not a lot of GameStop stock. A lot of these hedge funds had bought up what stock there was, or they bought up a commitment to buy this stock. That's what was going on as they shorted it. And as they're approaching their short date, they were going to have that stock to give back. And people like myself, common people out there, felt this kinship with this store that had been part of their childhood, and they were just dumping money into the stock out of sentiment. And it was raising the price and screwing up these hedge funds. Yes, you had a question, Judy?
No, I have an answer.
Oh, you have an answer.
Roaring Kitty.
Roaring Kitty. And what's his real name, does it say?
I don't know. I just looked up who he was.
Roaring Kitty was making his arguments for why we should be investing in GameStop.
He's from Massachusetts.
And what happened was they were all so successful. I mean, he was kind of a lead. He was centered on by regulation investments. What we learned from all of this is that it's okay for hedge funds to play these kinds of games, but when normal, and so they had to investigate this I don't know, this game on the financial industry as we know it. Yes.
Keith Gill.
That's right. Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty. He's the one that kind of led this. And it wasn't intentional. It was all fan-based. And he, to this day, says, I like GameStop. I like what they offer. GameStop is around still to this day. I use it regularly when I'm in the United States to go find classic video games or controllers or whatever I might need. So there's a lot of sentiment in this, even though Wall Street analysts have projected it was digital download revolution. It just hasn't. It stayed solid, and their value in the stock market has dropped, even though the company has stayed solid. And so they start buying up this stock. It starts raising the price. Hedge funds hate this. They're waiting for it to go down to this rock bottom price at the time they're supposed to be selling back the stock so that they'll make a profit. Instead, they kill. 2 hedge funds go under, which that they had let themselves sit out there for so long, couldn't cover. They had stock they have to give back. What they done is they borrowed it, and I mean, if you have any idea of shorting, they borrowed it and then they sold it at a different price, hoping that they'd be able to buy it back at rock bottom prices to give back, and they would earn that margin. What happened is they sold it, and it didn't never hit rock bottom prices. It skyrocketed because a bunch of internet kids are just like, we love GameStop, and started buying it. And that's how you should know Robinhood, is because in the midst of that trading, which was completely legitimate, they scared hedge funds in our society, have a lot of power, and they convinced Robinhood to shut off their trading. And that became very controversial. That you could sell GameStop, but you couldn't buy it anymore. And it took away one of the things Robinhood, the reason for Robinhood is that kind of idea of robbing the rich, giving to the poor. It was democratizing trading. So you didn't have to have a big investment in a hedge fund. You didn't have to have $1,000, and any common person could have access to the trading markets, which has made it possible for me to have stocks as a company like Robinhood with their application. After this, a lot of people became much more sophisticated out of Robinhood and dumped out of it, went off to other platforms because it was galling to think that they would just shut down trading. And the real problem was when you're trading with a platform like Robinhood, they're actually covering your nut. You're not actually trading out there on Wall Street. You're trading within the dimensions of what Robinhood has as liability. And all of a sudden, they had way too much liability, and so they had to shut off their internal trading. And that's when everybody that uses Robinhood figured out, oh, we're not really trading on Wall Street, are we? This is all happening under a loan shark called Robinhood. And Robinhood did any more than just losing popularity with its marketplace. There was nothing illegal about what they did. And me as a Robinhood user and others had to click a terms of service that said that they would exercise that if they got themselves in a situation where they would be doing things like that. And that's the reason they didn't get in trouble. It's because they told us ahead of time in one of those terms of service that's so really easy to read and understand. So that's how you should know Robinhood, because of that debacle. Now, the latest with Robinhood is they're opening up a platform so you can gamble on the presidency. This, like a bookie spread, is going to be available on Robinhood for you to make investments into.
It's supposed to be close.
It's supposed to be close. And they're going to be offering up little side bets too, like, will Donald Trump say this? Will Kamala get it by this many points? Hey, I'm going to go first. Which state will go last? All of this, you can imagine, will be in this gambling platform, which obviously is going to make American culture much better and rich for it.
Oh, much better.
He said, dripping with sarcasm.
It's kind of like paying people to fill out a survey when they're voting. It's kind of like when they used to buy people drinks to get them to go and vote.
Certainly.
Sounds like the same thing to me. That is my only political point today.
Wait,
I will not have another.
I think you're dead on right there. I think what they've done is opened up the opportunity for institutional investors to put a lot into some particular aspect of the election, and then they have an incentive to promote it. So if they've got to beat Trump by 3 points or 4 points, and they've got riding on it, they have a great incentive to get out the vote, right? They're out there going, hey, I need more votes. I need to make that point spread. I know it feels incongruent with what it's supposed to be about. It's disingenuous.
But, well, I will say one more kind of thing about, I see a lot of Arizona now going to ranked, whatever it's called.
Ranked choice voting?
Yes.
Awesome. Lots
and lots of ads for that. And it was also on our ballot in Colorado.
It was on our ballot in Alaska they can't stop it because it makes things so much fairer.
We'll see what happens in Colorado if it passes or not.
Well, I hope it does. I think it's going to sweep the nation. It just makes so much sense. Yeah, I bet they're probably on the 50 meg contract, which is like 25 and up. And
I thought they was on fiber.
They are on fiber, but even that's a 50 meg contract if that's what they pay for.
You ain't getting 50 meg.
Well, not with us rolling and whatever else is going on, no. But as long as they're getting 25, that's the contract. Anyway, what matters is this is working right now. So
there you go.
There we go. Yeah, that's what we're happy about.
You didn't have to do that.
Jam and Judy. So yes, I would attribute to this to filing devices of people in charge, similar to when Elon Musk decided to buy Twitter, because that's become such a great property since then. I would suspect Robinhood is on the verge of becoming something completely different. Oh, wow. This article actually used some of my language.
Or did you read the article before and it just came back in your memory?
That could be it. Democratizing access. So those are two topics I've brought with me today. The latest Apple software and Robinhood turning into a casino for the election.
I had an interesting happening this week.
Oh, please, Chester, share with us.
Well, I received an email from my bank that my account had been charged with $8,300. And that got my very quickly.
Yes.
And it came through the system, which is the way you pay bills, automatically pay bills on your check, on your account. That's the way they come through. It didn't come through my debit card or credit card. It came bank clearing. And it took a week to get it all sorted out. The bank immediately recognized it was fraud and set about trying to sort it out. But it just, at the time they got new accounts set up, and I was able to contact the companies that had direct payment, or automatic direct payment. It took a week to get it sorted out, but I had to have a new account to accomplish it. It was just one of those problems that you stay awake at night worrying about.
I just recently, just this last was on, asking for confirmation of a login in Seattle, Washington. There's nobody in Seattle, Washington using my Amazon. And so I checked the email very, very closely. I looked at where the links go. I analyzed it all, which I actually think that kind of behavior might be well suited for AI, as they're calling it. It may be that will end up being a feature in our email clients where it will do the analysis of the email that comes in, so I don't have to. Like I'm looking at it, it's legitimate or not. I could probably hit a button, or maybe it's already done it, and it goes and it reviews all the links in the email and the pictures in the email and decides whether it's actually a legitimate email or it's a scam. Because that's the first concern, is that not that my first concern isn't somebody's trying to get into my account. My first concern is somebody's trying to scam me into believing that somebody's trying to get into my account, and when I click the link, I'm going to end up giving out.
Just go to Amazon itself.
That's
It'll
right.
tell you.
That's absolutely right. That's the right way to be. And it was a legitimate message in the end. And so I followed through with it to report it as an illegitimate attempt to getting into my account. And that's reflected in the notifications in the Amazon app. You'll see it in your notifications. If you go into the app, it'll show that somebody was trying to activate, and you can tell it this was not legitimate so that they can be on the watch out for it. And as long as you're using this two-factor, that's a two-factor authentication. Mm-hmm. They should not have been able to get access to it. But it does mean they have my password, damn it.
We'll change it.
No, I got to. It just occurred to me. They couldn't have gotten that far without my password. Yeah. They couldn't have.
Actually, no.
Yeah, they couldn't have gotten that far without my password. In fact, I don't know why I didn't return back to it, because I actually sent out a message to our family group, because it's both my daughters and my wife have access to the Amazon. I'm like, nobody's trying to get into Amazon right now. And everybody got back to me. No one's using Amazon right now. It's like, yeah, this is bullshit. But it's not bullshit. It's legit. Oh my gosh, I got to change my Amazon password. That's happening quick, criminals. If you're watching me right now, I'm going to change my password today.
So act quick.
So now
so
it's
act
your last
quick.
chance.
Yeah, this is your last chance to try to take advantage of my Amazon account.
I got the same thing with my CenturyLink, which is my phone and internet in Colorado.
Yeah.
And then when I did go on to their site directly, and I couldn't see any action at all. And then I called them and they didn't see any action, but I still changed my password.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the important lesson from all this is deal with the email.
Right.
And what would be great if you're out there listening, Apple, is that when I pull up that email, and instead of me having to read any of it, if you just have a red or a green that I'm going past, that would be awesome. Like maybe I shouldn't even be seeing it, except I should, because it does mean that they've got my password.
Right.
It does mean that.
And I wouldn't trust AI anyway. I hate it.
Well, that's the biggest problem, is that you get to points where, like, I was using it the other day to figure out something. I'm like, well, wait, is that true? And I go to another thing, I get another answer. I'm like, well, maybe that's not true. Wasting a lot of energy for barely adequate responses.
It really has the capacity to be hacked by anyone, as far as I'm concerned, and they can tell you anything.
You're talking about AI?
Yes.
I think that you're on to some. I think that what it's us that's being hacked. It's
Well, yeah.
It's turning us into people that can't trust anything.
And
That might be a good lesson.
Well, I mean, there was a time when we had some. So, Cheryl, you've got your hand up. Well,
Okay, well, I got a strange one a while back, October 18th, from a Phyllis D. Baldwin. I don't recognize the name, but I'm wondering what's going on here. Customer ID number. We're pleased to confirm your subscription renewal. Billing details are attached in the PDF. Thank you for continuing to support. We're committed to delivering excellence throughout the upcoming term. Still thinking, Phyllis D. Baldwin, who are you? And there's this picture of Norton Life Lock. I don't have a Norton account.
right.
They don't use Norton. I don't know who Phyllis is. Under the I don't see an attached PDF. Under payment, it says will be processed on your plan, $269.99. You can phone us toll free at this. So I checked with
Did the
Bill, just in
picture
case.
Norton LifeLock make you feel more comfortable?
Yeah, right. So
I made it all legitimate.
my first thing to do is check with the spouse to make sure that he hasn't ordered something and not told me. So I did that, and no, we haven't done anything with Norton in years. And so kind of I thought about it, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to keep watching my accounts. No credit card, no bank account, nothing has had any kind of transactions. Basically, it's being kept until I hear something more, or until I hear nothing, and I'll delete it eventually. But
Well, it sounds like it's bullshit, and
Yeah.
I recommend deleting them quickly unless you're trying to build a case against something. I think that, in my personal opinion, I think that you should develop an attitude where you just whiz past this stuff as quickly as possible without it affecting, because it creates mental anguish, and it's not worth it. When you're 99% confident that that's bullshit, just delete it. And again, the exception is if I'm working with law enforcement, I'm hanging on to that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I get it out of my life as quickly as possible. You know, I made the mistake of asking for insurance rates and giving them my phone number. What an idiot I am. I am a case study in how abused you can be by just simply giving somebody your phone
And
number.
you're not even
Right? I have been inundated with text messages and voicemail messages, all people guaranteeing to get me better insurance rates. And it's not one or two, it's 100. And I have just...
And they just keep coming.
Well, they've slowed down, but every one of them, I'm like, report as junk and block. Report as junk and block. And slowly, they've slowed down to a trickle to nothing. But now, about a month or two later, I might get a message again. Report as junk and block. So I'm probably down to one message a month at this point.
I get
But-
30 to 40 phone calls a day.
Yeah, so Chester, if you're on an iPhone, they make it really easy to block those calls.
Yeah, but I could block everything, but I would also I could block everything except what's on my contact list. And
Yes.
I have you know, I've tried to block specific ones, but there's so many I can't block them. And they don't really answer. I just hang them up.
Yep. Yep. I wouldn't even answer them if they're not in your contact list. And I would set your settings to silence everything except your contacts in your contact list. You can find out about those calls after the fact. If they have value, somebody will leave a voicemail message, and you can spin it to vet the legitimacy of those messages.
Okay, the messages are all related to Medicare plans, and
I guess what I'm saying is you just adopt a policy in yourself. Never answer any of these calls if they're not in your contact list. Let them go to voicemail. Then as voicemail messages, you have plenty of time to decide whether they're legitimate or not. You don't. If you answer the phone, you only have a few minutes, and they're trying hard to convince you that they're a legitimate call. So everything that comes out of the speaker is made to convince you that you should be talking to them. You don't need to talk to anybody anymore. Just let it go to voicemail, and then you can decide. You can Google the phone number and see if anybody's reporting this phone number as scamming people. You can listen to the dialogue, and you can stick that into Google and see if anybody's reporting that people are telling them this. If they mention an organization, you can Google that organization and see if that name's been used in scams recently. But you can't do that if you answer the phone. If you answer the phone, you're under this social pressure in your mind and on the other end to do something about that call. Don't answer it. Let it go to voicemail.
You're trusting Google.
This is a different. I trust Google a lot more than I trust the scammer on the other side of the phone.
What I have been doing is answering and then immediately hanging up.
I'm choosing how to document it. So I've got all the time in the world to decide whether that was a legitimate call or not. As soon as I know it's legitimate, as soon as I know it's bullshit, I can block it, and it doesn't have to come in under that phone number again. But don't answer the phone. Nobody should be answering the phone. Yeah.
Scott, you missed Chester's concern.
What was Chester's concern?
I'm sorry, what was it? I'm not sure what I said. What I've been doing is answering the call and immediately hanging up.
I don't even think you have to do that, Chester. Your phone.
See, I don't want all that, because then I got to deal with it in voicemail. So,
well, Chester, are you still using an iPhone?
yes, it's an SE.
So as an iPhone, you can set that to not ring your phone if it doesn't know the phone number from your contact list. So that's
yes, I could do that, but I don't want to do that because I get calls from people that aren't on my contact list that I do want to talk to. So
right. So this is the process I'm telling you should follow. Is silence every call your phone doesn't know the contact from. Let it go to voicemail. Those stack up in an app on your iPhone, and you can check each one of those voicemails to be deleted, blocked, or saved. Then if it's something that you would save because that is somebody that you correspond with, add that phone number to your contact list so you're ready to answer it next time they call. So anything that you can't recognize, you shouldn't answer.
I'll give that some serious thought.
I think that's the way to stay successful in this day and age. And consequently, there is no one out there that you're dealing with in this world, no real person is expecting you to answer the phone. If they don't know you, if it's a cold call, they're trying to get you to answer the call, but nobody's surprised if you haven't answered the call. The most frustrating thing is millennials don't leave messages. So they won't leave you a voicemail saying, this is your grandson. This is like, right? Like, I've got a new phone. This is my new phone. They're not going to do, they might text it to you. They might. That's probably the only frustration with my scheme.
That goes back to their parents for not training.
Right, there you go. I think it comes more into instant communication. So much communication now is just done on the fly through messengers. Nobody's thinking about leaving a voicemail message. That's more for us. Somebody's had to leave us, and we are at the end of our hour, even though we got started late. I would, this, I'll bring it up now because it's pretty simple stuff. This is another Verge article talking about what Google's intentions are. They've been leaked recently. And the idea is that there will be a Google AI in your web browser, in the Chrome browser. Now, this is something that Apple is really kind of planning on with their AI, is the ability to go inside applications and work on your behalf as an agent. It hasn't come to fruition yet, but the idea is that you have this really smart Siri and you tell it to do things like go into my WhatsApp and find the picture you sent me yesterday. And it's supposed to have the ability to go into an app. Those apps have to have extensions created for them so that Siri can touch them.
So you kind of see like tentacles.
Oh, absolutely.
Rather than extensions.
So get ready for this. Google's doing this to Chrome. So
It's all right. As long as they may put an off switch on it.
Well, that's what the Apple thing.
This is called Project Jarvis. And remember that Google had a privacy switch that you could turn on that turned out to be bullshit. The only thing you were private from was your wife. You weren't private from anything else. So yeah, this is an interesting take on where AI might go. It should be nice to see some like real legitimate value coming out of AI before they keep pressing on with these changes. I'd like to see it become much more sophisticated before it's put everywhere, but it's being put everywhere because that's what.
I'd like to see it die a miserable death.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to fight against what I'd like to see die a miserable death is all this marketing and hype, because that's what. There's nothing wrong with it. The technology is what the technology is. There are some fundamental things that it's going to be good for.
Don't force it down your throat.
The only reason it's being forced down our throats is because it's making investors look at stock prices. They're doing it it's a cash grab. This is crazy that we would use a technology like this for anything other than to better technology. And they're not doing it to better technology. They're doing it because people don't know what they're doing, and that's translating into higher stock value.
So when's Cheryl and Bill and everybody coming back down?
Next week.
Well, we're leaving U.S. on November 5th, and we're going to be in San Felipe for a week. Then we're going to go back into the States and go over and drive down through Nogales instead of going across through Carboca or anything. And we'll be in San Carlos on November 12th.
Oh, all right. So not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, we just
And
got the heat turned off for you.
That Tuesday we will be arriving, so we will miss the meeting. We'll definitely be in location the following one.
Awesome.
I saw the one. I want you to tell me what you mean. You have one on there and you said you're not sure if it's a recommendation, but something we should talk about. What is it?
So this is this new Demi Moore movie called The Substance. It is a really bizarre movie where she's playing an older actress. She's basically playing herself. Yeah, she's playing herself, and there's some kind of technology that she's been able to get a hold of that creates and generates a younger version of herself.
AI.
Oh, hold on, we've got somebody bleeding through right now. And so it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde story, and it has a lot of messages on body image and beauty and success and Hollywood. And those are all some pretty decent messages. But the movie turns into gore horror, just like slicing and bleeding and oozing and bubbling. And it's hard to recommend it just in that respect, because I felt like they could have made the same message without grossing everybody out. But if you're somebody that's sensitive to that, this is not.
You know, when I see stuff like that, it's supposed to horrify you and all this kind of stuff. I usually just look at it and I laugh. I think fake blood. Like, what the heck is this? You know, so yeah.
Well, I know personally, I have more of a stomach for the outrageous gore, like the zombies that are oozing, or the axe murderer that's chasing the kids. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. The kind of horror that like is very close to the way a body would look if you were to cut it and open it, or the way a brain would look as you're peeling off the skin. That kind of stuff bothers me. I don't have a lot of patience for that kind of horror. And it's unfortunate because I think there were good messages in this, metaphorical messages in this movie. And the reason I wanted to see it, I had no interest in it until I saw a movie with Demi, or saw an interview with Demi Moore. And she was talking about, as an actress at her age, she really felt like she'd reached a point where she didn't know what was normal for her body. That she had been living up to so many different expectations throughout her career. She didn't know what she would look like if she let her diet go to what would be considered kind of a normal diet. If she moved herself down to just normal fitness instead of having a goal to get to a certain weight or a certain body mass ratio. And so this movie was allowing her to just explore that part of her and see, just to expose the wrinkles and the cellulite and just kind of be the age she is. And I thought, well, that was pretty profound. That's worth looking at this movie for. But then I watched this movie. I'm like, oh, that's really gross. I don't know about this. And you can get a quarter of the way into the movie without feeling this way. But there is definitely a turning point. And the end is just like, it's like a crescendo of grossness right at the end. It's an unfortunate. I've got a feeling that more people would be interested in this movie if they hadn't taken that direction with it. It leaves itself to be appreciated by gore horror film fanatics instead of just people that would be interested in the message. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I definitely thought it was a good movie, but obviously a gory, gross movie. And then the other thing that we've been watching, and I put it in the wrong spot, it's actually supposed to be in shows, is this Agatha All Along. Have you guys heard about this?
Yeah, I saw something about it. You have 2 minutes and I need to say goodbye. So
Okay.
We will talk to you guys. Hopefully talk to you next week.
The idea is next week in Tequilas, once again, we'll be live. We'll see you guys then. If nobody has any other recommendations, I'm going to say tech on till Tuesday.
I have a
Okay,
recommendation. The Tequilas con pollo.
What was that?
I have a recommendation. The Tequilas con pollo.
Tequilas con pollo. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Ciao, baby.